What is up, fight fans? Michael Hernandez here alongside my trusty Dusty, and always, just always ready to go over there. Not Dusty, never mind.
Hold
My
up.
guy
I
over
was
there,
like,
Dylan
oh, hey,
Dawson.
hey, getting some shade thrown.
I was trying to come up with something with the D, man. But
Bars,
durable,
not,
the durable,
I
the
guess,
durable.
yeah.
I may be from
Durable.
California, but I don't have bars, man.
What up?
That's the most annoying thing. By the way, I hate when I go and I tell people like I'm from the West Coast and they think like, oh, I can rap, or they think like, oh, all of you guys just know how to surf, or things like that. I'm like, dude, we don't all know how to do that. Like, I grew up in the middle of a farm. I'm basically as American as like a dude from Kansas.
You're
feel
from the
in
California
weird ways.
Midwest.
That's what
You're
I'm
part of the
saying.
California
Like,
Midwest.
I am literally the wild, wild west. Like,
And
I
I'm
feel like,
basically, I was born in the California, Canada, basically.
damn
So,
near,
it's like,
yeah.
we are not California as you think they are. But
I would say though, like Humboldt almost is like a Seattle, like it's kind of like a Washington S, which I would argue is almost damn near Canada. But
I would say, I just say the ruralness of it all. You're so out there. There's no big cities or towns. Like at least in Washington, there's some cities, but we got nothing up there. But anyways,
absolutely nothing, dude. Hey, shout out Ryan Peterson though. He's got a gym
shout
over
out
there
Ryan
in like the
Peterson.
Humboldt area,
Just
right?
yeah, Ryan Peterson just opened WKX Humboldt, I believe, doing kickboxing, jiu-jitsu. Unfortunately, I didn't have a chance to stop in there when I was back because they were closed for the holidays. But super big ups to him. For those who don't know, Ryan Peterson, BKFC fighter, 4 fights this past year. Which, by the way, 4 fights bare knuckle in like 12 months is fucking bananas.
Absolutely,
I don't know how
insane.
you do that. But yeah, mad respect. Ryan's an awesome guy, good friend of mine and our family, and yeah, obviously doing good stuff. But we are coming off a weekend of some good fights. And before we get into the actual fights themselves, I want to pose a question for you and our listeners. We're kind of finding out what defines West Coast when we're doing this show. Obviously, I kind of, I want to cover as much MMA as possible. We got to keep it, kind of niche at the same time. What defines West Coast? Because we got some states like, Nevada, Arizona, Montana. I'm saying this because obviously Fusion Fight League happened over the weekend. Idaho, these states that are like they're west, they're definitely west, but are they coast? And obviously we'll have people sound off in the comments or whatever, see what people really think. But yeah, man, it's kind of that gray area. It's like, you are the west, are you the coast? Are you West Coast MMA, or are you just West MMA? We don't know.
And I would say, like, I feel like for me a definitive West Coast is like for sure Washington, for sure Oregon, for sure California. So obviously those 3 states are on the West Coast.
They are west, and they have a coast.
Like, yes. Man, they have a coast, yes. But like, I don't know. I feel like Nevada, like I throw Nevada and Arizona in there when I'm talking about the West Coast. But some people feel super strong about that. They do not like that.
People forget that Phoenix is a 4-hour drive from an ocean. We can get to Baja California right there and get the ocean. So I consider us West Coast enough down here in Arizona. Nevada, again, it's like, it's very, kind of right there, but you're very much in the desert. Like, it's almost, I don't know, but then like Montana is pretty east if we're talking west.
I was gonna
but
say,
at the same time,
you're pretty near an ocean there.
Yeah, but again, West Coast fighters fight there more than East Coast or Midwest fighters fight there. So, anyways, point is just a random little debate. But
yeah, I had a lot of guys asking me though, and I was like, man, you know what? I'm not like a geologist, dude. I'm not a geographer. Like, I'm not somebody.
I don't know rocks. I don't know math.
I was a journalism guy, dude. Like, there's a reason why they didn't put me out in the news sector. They threw me in sports, man.
Well, that's
and even then,
my sociology, anthropology is for here. I was a people guy. I did the journalism on the side, so we'll just combine our talents right here. But
that's what I'm saying.
Peanut butter anyways,
and jelly, dude.
Yeah. But starting with the actual 100% confirmed West Coast, you obviously were at 559 fights, 120 this past weekend. Obviously, UFC Fight Pass debut. Pretty good card. I mean, obviously had some surprises, had some really, really good performances. I'm just going to give the floor to you, kind of give your perspective, obviously, as the guy who behind the scenes on the floor, doing the thing at Eagle Mountain Casino, and just kind of tell us how it was from that perspective.
Yeah, I thought it was an amazing show in terms of the fanfare and like the crowd. And I kind of posted like a POV because I really wanted people to see like how it is for me in a day of like working at the fights, because everybody thinks that like, since I'm not doing commentary, like, I don't know, I just stand in the back with the finger in my ass, but I actually do things. Like, I know it's crazy, but I do stuff. Like, I actually work and like I move around and stuff. So it was really cool. It was a great time. I always loved, for me, the biggest thing, and I know it's sentimental, whatever. Central Valley, where I'm from, it's not really a place where like a lot of people have a lot of like optimism and hope. And I feel like the biggest thing is because you're kind of sandwiched in between two areas that are known so prevalently in the state of California for producing so much of the GDP, so much of the growth, whatever. San Francisco, LA, obviously, is what I'm talking about in terms of being sandwiched. Central Valley right in the middle.
Who produces the food? Fuck all the tech.
That's what I'm saying. It's us.
The food
it's
is what
us,
matters.
man.
That's what I'm talking about.
It's us, dude. We're all the fruits, all the veggies, dude. That's all Cali, man. All Central California, dude. But no,
the dairy, your meats and milks, all that good stuff.
It's always made me prideful to be from here, and so for me, like seeing a lot of these people that I know are from our area, like get to go to that top level. Like Christian Avalos obviously gained a big win against Josh Altum. Not only was I happy to see him get the win, but also to see the fanfare behind it, to see so many people cheering for him, cheering his name, being like, oh my God, Christian, like treating him almost like a little bit of a micro celebrity, because it showed me that the area we're from, they can harbor not only a pride, but they can also help elevate somebody else and help them bring their own success into their own life. And who knows, maybe we'll be seeing, like how we said, Christian Avalos in Dana White Contender Series this year. I know a lot of people are saying they would love to see him versus Robert Vericchio over at lightweight, and I think that's an amazing fight to make on Dana White Contender Series. I think that would be an awesome way to kick off
East
this next
versus
upcoming
West
season.
Would be awesome.
East versus West. I would think it's a perfect representation as well. Is Vericchio not the CFFC champion over there, right?
I think he is, yeah. So
yes.
But yeah, again, as you were saying too, it's definitely on 559 Fights for developing such a amateur to pro kind of system as well, because that's where you get to really see that fanfare grow for a guy. You know, it's like, it's one thing if you see a guy travel into town, you see him fight 2 times in maybe 4 years. It's like, yeah, okay, he might be the champ, he might be the quote unquote hometown local guy, but a guy like Christian Avalos, if I'm not mistaken, has fought for 559 since the beginning, like all the way up. Right. I mean,
yeah,
it's like
no, and that's the craziest thing.
So you're not just getting familiar with him as like, oh, he's the champ, but you've seen him go from the amateur prelims all the way up, you know, work the way up the card all the way. So again, it's like, it's just good on the promotion for making sure you're not just taking the good fighters and putting them on your card, but you're actually building all the way up from the beginning of their careers as an amateur, 18, 19 years old, to professional titles and, you know, being on the brink of the UFC.
I think another big thing too that we got to see this weekend with that 559 Fights card is other talent coming in from other areas. Like we've seen Shane Collins, Jonathan Powell, that kind of Cobra team takeover, so on, so to speak. They came into town, had a very successful night, went 2-0 on the evening. And that's great too, because it almost, I know it sounds so silly to say, it gives me those WEC vibes. You know, we had, or the Tachi Palace fights back in the day, which was, you know, you had guys that were from the Valley, that were local, and that were able to build their own names, such as the Joe Sotos of the world, such as the Poppies Martinez, such as Cole Escovidos. But then you also have guys that are coming into the area, you know, coming in, making their own name over there. We have the Nate Diaz, the Gilbert Melendez, the Jake Shields coming into the WEC when it was back at Tachi Palace, or coming into Tachi Palace fights when it was back over there in Lemoore. And I feel like we're kind of building that now back again to where the Central Valley has became, I think TJ DeSantis said it best on commentary, it's became a mecca for mixed martial arts. And I think it's just awesome because it's a trickle down effect. They're even seeing it the same weekend that we had 559 fights. We had one of the biggest wrestling tournaments in the country in the Doc B Invitational, hosted just 40 minutes away.
Yeah.
And the number one team in that invitational was Buchanan, who is in Clovis. So it's just awesome because I feel like we're finally starting to see the Central Valley just truly grow a love for not only mixed martial arts, but the things involved in it. The wrestling, jiu-jitsu, the actual sport of MMA. So it's awesome for me, man. It makes me like a kid in a candy store, man. I can go around, I can talk to people, and they know exactly what I'm talking about. I can say Doc B in public, and people aren't like, what is this guy? Who is this guy talking about? If I said that in San Luis Obispo, people probably would have been like, dude, what is this dude on? Doc
well,
B,
again,
is that like...
It kind of goes back to the traditional just history of combat sports, though, and you don't see combat sports have the greatest impact in the, say, more affluent or, you know, more social civil hubs of places. You see it happen in the places where there is less opportunity. There is maybe more of a, you know, grinding type lifestyle, like working on a farm, like working in, you know, kind of a more manual labor, blue collar type job. And that's where fighting's always been so relevant. So if you think about it, just from a historical perspective, it makes sense that the Central Valley is becoming a hub for combat sports. We've always seen good boxers come out of the Mexican American community, especially in this region. And now it's mixed martial arts because there's frankly other shit going on in LA and San Francisco and Sacramento and these other big cities. But when you have something like combat sports build a community in a place that needs that community, but also harbors those personalities that become great fighters and great, just combat sports athletes, it makes a lot of sense. You know what I'm saying? Does that?
No, 100%.
It just
it makes a ton of sense because and like how you stated before, we're seeing the likeness of boxers, and we've seen a ton of boxers come through the Central Valley area and make a name for themselves. I mean, I would argue that a big reason why Virgil Ortiz Jr. has built such a big name for himself was because of his popularity based over here in the Central Valley. Even, and my gosh, it's going to anger me so much why I'm forgetting his name. Jose Ramirez, one of the best boxers at his weight class for quite some time, from the Central Valley, was from Avenal, California. So it goes to show you, like, hey, like, you can be from this area and you can go quite far with your own career in not only combat sports, but also just creating your own brand. So it makes me really happy. But also, let's just talk about that co-main event, man. Mm-hmm. Getting to see Corbin Allen and Chance Ike. That was possibly I think Soto said it on commentary too, one of the most technical fights I'd seen in quite some time at 125. I feel like, honestly, we could have seen that in a UFC octagon and it would have not been a bad fight. We've had a lot of people say, wow, that was a technical one. Like, those guys were going at it, because there was just so many times where in the first round you think, oh, maybe Chance has got this, and then in the third round you're thinking, oh, maybe Corbin's pulling away, and then Chance is coming back. So it's just one of those fights where it was a truly back and forth affair.
Yeah. While I definitely don't disagree with the decision, I think Corbin Allen definitely won. I was expecting a split. I was surprised to hear unanimous decision.
I was expecting a split as well. That's
again, because I pretty handily gave Chance the first round. Corbin won the second, in my opinion. And then literally halfway through the third round, Chance reversed position on Corbin after that wrestling exchange. And I was like, that's literally 50-50 right there. They kind of did similar stuff, not a ton of damage, but threatening some submissions and passes and other things. And also, I just want to give credit, first of all, to both men. Corbin Allen's work from the back body lock was fantastic. He was really, really good at getting to Chance's back and putting him in a purely defensive position where Chance wasn't able to do some stuff. And then on the flip side, Chance, for one, his Granby rolls and Victor rolls he was hitting to get out of that back position, and the mobility of his hips to get back on top, where he would roll and then just get his hips to the right spot and flip him right on top and then end up in top position on Corbin, was really incredible. Obviously, not a lot of damage going on, not necessarily the most exciting fight to say the more casual fan out there. But again, I think, as you mentioned, I think before we started talking or before we started recording, Corbin Allen's losses have come to nothing but high level guys. Chance Ike coming in undefeated, which, we had him at number 3 on our top 10 West Coast prospects list. Obviously, no discredit to him, but we'll be, revisiting that list in a little bit. But again, that's less of a, slight to him and more of that's just how good the flyweight division is and how good Corbin Allen is. And again, don't want to speculate or anything, but Chance just did have a kid about 3-4 months ago, just how challenging that can be, raising a kid, having to just switch up in life and, having that extra responsibility and stuff. So, it's how the fight game is though, it's no excuses. It's just shit happens. You got to push through it.
I think the biggest thing to take away from this too with Corbin Allen is, oftentimes you have a lot of guys that get written off right in the beginning of their careers when they have a couple of losses. Corbin Allen started his career 1-2. He didn't start his career as this amazing prospect, as being the 6-0 guy, being the 7-0 guy. The biggest thing that I think you can take away from this, and even Corbin Allen was speaking about it when I was interviewing him in the weigh-ins process, and I was asking him, I said, hey, with this matchup against Chance Ike, how do you feel about it? He said, I know my stock can go up a lot with this fight. I know that if I beat Chance, if I go out there and I put up a performance, people won't be able to dismiss me as one of the best guys at 125 in the region. And you can't argue that after beating Chance Ike, because now look at his losses. He's lost to Johnny Robles, who was, arguably before his incident, before everything that happened outside of the cage, was one of the best guys.
Sorry, I just got to put one up for old Johnny right there.
Not a good person at all. But hey, obviously, and was one of the best fighters in his division, and that was at 135. So that was really before Royce kind of found his weight class. And then he fights Royce Butler, and he fights Royce Butler at flyweight, loses to Royce. Royce Butler has arguably been the breakout star at 125 this past year on the West Coast. I mean, beating Mason Hartshorn, capturing the A1 Combat flyweight title. We have seen what the A1 Combat flyweight title has brought to the prospects that have won it before, Joseph Morales and Terrence Saturn. So I don't know. All I'm going to say is that if you are somebody on the West Coast that is winning a flyweight title, it's a pretty good sign. You got Bilal Hassan, you got Corvin Allen, you got Royce Butler. That's a pretty good trio of West Coast flyweight champions. And I just think that those three guys, possibly, you may see that kind of trio come back. And who knows, we may see Corvin Allen and Royce Butler too, because that was one hell of a fight. I believe they went all three. They went to the third round, and Corvin got finished in the third. But it was a war for sure between them.
If we're talking potential DWCS matchups, we want to see. We mentioned Christian Abelos versus Robert Varicchio. I want to see Miguel Sanson versus Corvin Allen. Miguel Sanson, APFC champ.
I was going to say
his last
APFC
loss was to Anho, who obviously went on to go to Contender Series a couple times. Fantastic wrestler. He hit the people's elbow on that guy for ground and pound. That highlight that went viral this last year. So I think he's about 8-2 right now. Corvin Allen 8-4. Similar records, really good. Titles on the regional scene. I think that'd be a fantastic matchup. DWCS,
and you can even carry that storyline over. Hey,
MMA Lab.
MMA Lab. He has that kind of ongoing rival, and I think TJ brought up a great point as well when watching back. Millennia MMA has they have just built a really good core over there, having that alignment with OG Training Center, and then also with the guys over there at Bloodline CSA. I mean, when you are able to go ahead and just. And I feel like that's just with those SoCal and with those Phoenix area, because you have MMA Lab, you have guys that are able to go to the Fight Readies, the Arizona Combat Sports. They're able to go to these different gyms, and then you have the Orange County gyms where they're able to go to OCRTC. They're able to go to the training lab. They're able to go to all these different facilities that possibly they wouldn't have had access to. And I think that's kind of what gives the West Coast an advantage on a lot of these other gyms, is because you have guys that are able to go 4 hours from LA to Las Vegas and use those UFC PI benefits. But then on top of that, they're also able to go ahead and get the same benefits that they would get from training in Los Angeles, training in that Orange County area.
Yeah, well, definitely really impressive for Corvin Allen, high-level fight, and excited to see if he defends, what he does next, if he goes to DWCS, what's kind of next. But obviously the big name on the card, a lot of speculation on whether or not he would even make it onto the card, was Shane Collins. Made it quick work of his opponent, Israel Delgado.
Tyler Miller.
Oh, Tyler Miller. Excuse me.
Yes.
Sorry. I was looking at Tapology, forgot that it got switched up last second again because there was so much, mix-ups for that.
I mean, Guy had like 20 different opponents, dude. It's hard to keep up nowadays.
Yeah, but he looked fantastic. Just pinpoint precision, incredible power, no hesitation. Just went out and just did the job. Again, my only criticism is I'd like to see him fight for longer next time against an opponent who maybe could give a little bit more back, but. Kind of A+ gold star performance for what he was handed, and obviously the kind of lead up to that fight.
Well, I think the biggest thing with Shane too is he's beat these guys already on the regional scene that just have so much fights behind them. I mean, beating Cody Vogels over that A1 Combat for the featherweight title, I think that's such a big win to have early in your career, because look at who Cody Vogels has fought. And it's just, I think that's kind of scared off a lot of guys from possibly wanting to go and test 145 with Shane Collins, and even too made a nod on commentary of kind of talking about possibly maybe seeing him jump between 145 and 155 on the regional scene. But I have a pretty good feeling that we'll be seeing Shane Collins back in that 559 fights cage pretty soon. Who knows? May see him over there in the A1 Combat cage before that. But I really have a feeling that the 559 fight fans, the way that they were treating him over there, they truly had a liking for the style, and really heavy boxing style, like how you said. Just I think he's going to be a fan favorite over there in the Central Valley. So I wouldn't doubt that we see him back possibly on that March card.
Man, I just was peeking at his Tapology. I didn't realize in his last amateur fight, Shane Collins fought George Staines, who was an Octagon veteran and now fighting for Cage Warriors, undefeated and this is for the IMMAF. Again, George Staines 9-1, fighting for Cage Warriors, on the verge of the UFC now. Fought for Octagon, won their Octagon Challenge title. And Shane Collins, that was like one of his only losses as an amateur, was to, again, one of the best global prospects, out there around his weight class. So again, that guy, even back to his amateur career, he was fighting some of the best fighters you could find. So I have no doubts that we'll continue to see him have success, whether it's at 5'9" or even, higher level than that.
Even speaking to him beforehand, he said he denied no opponent in the lead up to this one. He said this was kind of a Christmas gift to himself. He said, I'm willing to fight anybody and everybody. So definitely no, and that's always such the toughest thing about regional MMA is like, oftentimes guys want to get, guys want to say, oh, this and this about this guy about fighting. Why doesn't he fight this dude? At the end of the day, he has to have another dude sign the contract at the other end of the situation. So there's only so much you can really control. You got to, as I like to say, control the controllables. And that's exactly what Shane Collins has done so far as a professional. Now, I would love to see Shane Collins possibly run that fight back. But the name that was escaping me earlier, the owner of OG Training Center over there, he is a Bellator vet. I think you're going to know him, Georgi Karakhanyan. He's
yes.
had quite the name over there in Bellator, and obviously has built quite the gym over there in OG Grappling Center. So want to give him a big shout. Want to give honestly Orange County and that whole SoCal region a big shout out because they definitely killed it in their 559 fights. Their 559 fights take over, as I would like to say. I mean, Shane Collins, Jonathan Powell, and Corvin Allen all going 3-0 on the night. That's pretty good. Pretty good way to end the evening, if I would like to say so myself.
And then in what was it? Next down the card, we saw Szymon Smotricki get back in the win column after a few rough bouts. It was an uncharacteristic performance from him. I'll say that.
Very weird, right? Okay, because I was thinking the same thing.
Well, again, it was
watching it.
It's a guy who needed a win. I mean, I don't want to. Again, I'm not trying to show any disrespect, but coming off a title fight at Fury, the Contender Series twice, getting finished in those fights, you're sitting at 11-5 in your career. It's like the difference between 11-6 and 12-5 is big, and especially facing a 5-5, dangerous 5-5 opponent. Because we obviously spoke in the lead up to this. James Porter, no slouch, dangerous guy, fought as high up as middleweight, light heavyweight. So it's one of those fights that you only have so much to gain on paper when somebody sees you beat a 5-5 opponent, but when reality is so much more dangerous. And I think Szymon Smotricki really just said, I need this win for my career. And it wasn't really working in the first round striking wise. So he said, you know what? I think I'm a better athlete than this guy. I think I have the timing, and he just kind of, rode out the win with his wrestling. But I don't know. I'd like your perspective on the fight too.
Yeah, I thought it was a very interesting bout because, like how you said, I know Szymon, he loves to keep it up on the feet in a lot of his bouts, even in the bouts that he did lose to Troy Green, Morali, which I kind of found funny is because Morali's one of his championship defenses, quote unquote, was against Troy Green when he was the A1 Combat welterweight champion. But Szymon, he's a very interesting character. Even the post antics after the fight, kind of flipping off the other team and kind of talking smack back and forth. Like after you win a fight, I don't feel like that's like the best omen to go ahead and put out. Is like, I'm gonna flip off the other team. Like, dude, just take your win, walk away, shake their hand, whatever. So I just felt like it was a very overall weird fight. And so Szymon, just not I wouldn't say the best performance that he would want to put, especially against a guy that's 5-5. And like how you said, I know James is very dangerous, but I feel like he should have tested himself a little bit more in there. I feel like he kind of just, like how you said, couple minutes into the first scene, the striking wasn't working. And I feel like even too, it felt like he was a little bit off in the striking because he kept on circling to his right for whatever, or circling to his left. One of the sides kept on circling to a certain side and just felt like James was timing him kind of well over there in the first. And then just seemed as soon as he got it to the ground, obviously Szymon was able to kind of put things into the driver's seat for himself. But very, very interesting fight. Not a whole lot to write about to back home. It kind of reminded me a lot of the Jonathan Powell and Trayvon Stubbs fight, but obviously the Powell and Trayvon Stubbs fight had a lot more action in terms of submission threats, ground and pound, etc. It didn't seem like Szymon was really trying to do any activity, which I found weird because I don't know. It's like, at what point now does the referee deem like, all right, stand him up? You know what I'm saying? Like, because you see it in the I've seen it in the amateurs. I literally commentated one of the last fights I commentated, Francisco Hurtado, Kyle Mask. I will throw a clip in here because I want people to understand. Kyle Mask gets a full body triangle. Here, actually, you know what? We will play it. We can play this. Why am I acting like a hooligan?
But while you're pulling this up, again, I think this just goes for MMA in general. It's like we're taught, especially coming from places like jiu-jitsu, closed guard is not advantageous on the ground. You can't stay in closed guard. You got to try to get up. But I don't think we can just expect closed guard to be completely advantageous for somebody on top if they're not striking and they're simply just putting their arms in the biceps and holding them there. You know, there needs to be – I view closed guard as much more of a neutral position rather than advantageous in either way, which, again, should lend itself to more stand-ups, which is what you're talking about right now.
Sorry, just trying to find the clip here where they go to the ground and there's a bit of a pull-off, and I was very, very confused in the moment while commentating why they were brought back up, but I just found the clip here. So if watching this back, I don't see where like there's this level of inactivity. And funny enough, I believe this is Dan Manriquez, who is also a referee over there at 559 Fights 120. But so watching this, Kyle Mask is working body triangle, trying to attempt to go ahead and obviously do some sort of level of activity. And I mean, you know, not a whole gets stood up. And I would argue way more activity in that exchange than what Shimon was doing in a lot of his exchanges throughout his about. Agreed. On I truly don't like, I don't get it. It bewilders me. I don't understand it. Like we need some consistency in this part of the rule set, because if we're going to start standing up guys when they're getting a fully locked body triangle and they're trying to work their hands underneath somebody's neck, like, but we're not going to stand them up when they're on full mount, just wet blanketing somebody. Like, I'm not trying to be that guy, but at least if Jonathan Powell's on top, he was working submissions. He was trying to get an arm triangle at certain points. He almost had an arm triangle there at, I believe, the third round or second round. Mm-hmm. I could be wrong, but watching that Shimon fight back, I don't believe there's any submission attempts. Like, come on, guys. Like, that's where I'm like, dude, we got to fix that part of the rule set. But I mean, Shimon gets the win, gets to add it onto his resume, 12-5 now in his career. So obviously, like how you said, a lot better of an omen than being 11-6, but definitely not I wouldn't say the biggest win to write home about, for sure.
100%. But yeah, elsewhere, I think we need a trilogy between Robert Barrios and Justin Moore. I know Justin Moore, follower of the show on Instagram, he's been responding to our stuff. Big shout out, big appreciate that. But yeah, I mean, hey, it's 1-1 now. You got to go for 3. One is an amateur, one is a pro. Let's make it happen. You know, somebody's got to go home with the bragging rights. But yeah,
hey, I wouldn't argue, like, you know, give Moore another fight, give Barrios another fight.
Look, there's only so many heavyweights on the scene, man. When you're this early,
that's
in
what
the
I'm
career,
saying.
You gotta find who you can find, and they're 1-1. I mean, it's simple as that. But,
and they're both in California, dude.
Yeah.
You know, you may just have to contact Robert on a short notice, man. I think that's definitely it's not the worst idea ever. I've seen sometimes where guys lose in the amateurs to somebody twice or 30 times, and they still end up fighting each other again. So
yeah,
that's all I'm gonna
could
say.
happen again.
That's all I'm gonna say. Could happen.
But overall, good view. Again, I know we spoke about it a little bit. I was really impressed with Christian Avalos. I have had some criticisms about his fighting style in the past. He's been a little slow, you know, maybe sticks his fingers out there a little bit too much, kind of just rides doesn't push the issue enough sometimes. But man, Josh Altum, he brought it out of him, first of all, because that dude was throwing. And Avalos said, you're not going to, he's like, you're not going to hurt me like that in my hometown. And then he went out there and, you know, put it on him. So again, super, super impressed with Avalos. I'd say he was my performance of the night, as I think he won performance of the night at the actual event. So it makes sense. But
Yeah,
I want to
Shane
give it.
Collins, him, and Robert Vargas all performance
Yep.
for the night winners.
Nice.
So very impressive performance from
Yeah.
from Christian Avalos, from Shane Collins, and from Robert Vargas. Robert Vargas dominated that Justin Moore fight
He
too as
did.
well. I mean, some of those like ground and pound exchanges, I was like, man, like Paul Bentello, he's like, what's my guy doing, man? He's got to stop this bad boy. But I really got to give it to Justin though too, man. He was making it very, very tough for Robert to just stay consistently on the ground and pound. He was moving around a lot. He was threatening a lot of different kind of ankle locks, submissions, heel hooks in the first. And I believe just as the fight wore down, you can only take so much damage to your body, so much damage to the equilibrium before it's just that much harder to get up. I mean, people don't understand. My biggest pet peeve, I can't tell you how many times I heard people say, get up when somebody is on. That's the most annoying thing to hear when you are on bottom out.
Yeah.
Like, I wish I could, dog. I wish I could.
If only it was that simple.
If only it was that simple.
Any closing notes on 559 120?
No, I thought it was an amazing card. I thought prelims is also were also amazing as well. They had some pretty good fights on the prelims, so I always like shouting out those guys. You had Gavin Garcia. He got a knockout within the first, I believe, first minute, which was impressive to go ahead and see.
That was a gnarly knockout. That was crazy.
On UFC, it was on the preliminary card. He also had Matthew Vargas and Jason Jeff. That was another kind of interesting bout that I didn't expect for it to go down the way it did, but still was very impressive win for Matthew. And then Joey Sandoval gained the win back in his hometown over there against Isaiah Juarez. You know, it's always nice when you get to see somebody born and raised in that area. You know, Christian Avalos, he's about 40 minutes away from Porterville. I mean, I think Joey Sandoval is maybe 5 minutes away from Eagle Mountain Casino. So
might as well walk there for his fight.
Might as well walk there for his fight, dude. I think he may have taken the bus. You know, he may have asked the casino to go ahead and give him a little bit of a ride on one of their golf carts, dude, just how close he lives. But no, definitely a very impressive win for him on his part to go ahead and get that rear naked choke. There was some weight misses, though. I know Joey Sandoval did have a weight miss, and I know that Christian Avalos did not make championship weight. He did make a lightweight limit, so maybe possibly that may draw indications for him going forward. But I still think that win was really impressive. I mean, if you're a guy making 156, you're going to have to make 156 on Dana White Contender Series. I don't think that they're going to be like, hey, you got this, you knocked this guy out in the first round, but guess what? You missed weight by 0.5 pounds. It'd almost be like the Charles Oliveira effect. Maybe we should start calling it that when guys don't make championship weight and they're still making that like 156. Yeah. It's Charles Oliveira effect.
For real.
I like that. I think I'm gonna coin that. That's mine. That's mine.
There we go. But yeah, elsewhere on the maybe not coast, but in the West, we had a Fusion Fight League going down up in Montana. I watched that card on Saturday night. I really just want to give a shout out to my boy Danny Super Duper Sabretooth Trejo. Literally the most exciting heavyweight on the Western US. I mean, this guy, he's on 3-fight knockout streak. He did the Superman leap at his opponent after knocking him down last time, and then absolutely demolished his opponent this time, just a month after his last knockout. He hopped on the mic afterwards, and he said, shout out to all my Mexican Americans, man. You know, shit's kind of crazy out there with all that stuff with ice. Drink your water room temperature or some shit. I don't know. He's
crazy work. It's the same guy in Montana of all places.
In Montana,
kind of wild. Man, yeah. They got a big Mexican population in Montana.
But that's my boy right there.
That's funny.
He's 7-4 fights out of Tucson, Arizona, so does qualify in at least the Arizona West Coast. And then also Amari Sangsavana, he got a first-round knockout, moved to 7-0, probably Contender Series, destined as well, and another MMA lab guy right there. And then Trent Miller out of Vegas also won in the main event. He fought on the Contender Series this last year, so got back in the win column, I believe up to 9-3 for his pro record. But man, not gonna lie, we have a pretty dead week this week for West Coast and honestly just US MMA in general. There's not a lot going on. Period.
Yeah, it's been a very I would like to say it's almost like the 1920s, man. We're going back in time, dude. We're back to the temperance movement, man. It's dry. but you know, it's sometimes you gotta withdraw so you can understand what you were missing.
I'm having withdrawals right here from a lack of MMA, man. I'll tell you.
It was so It was so funny. I had so many people in the crowd telling me, like, dude, this happening after UFC not being on for 4 weeks is fucking amazing. So I'm happy that MMA is finally like making a comeback. I actually kind of took Saturday off because I had just been so tired from doing. Whenever I work the 559 fights, I always feel like that picture of KD where his legs are just laid out and he's just like, bro, that's literally how I feel, man.
Yeah.
That like the fights take it out of me so much. But I did watch Marty Supreme this weekend. That was a good.
That's why you're looking like you are right now. You're inspired by the Marty Supreme look.
The mustache or what?
I'm just kidding. You just kind of look like Timothy Chalamet with the whole getup right now. I had to see.
You know
But
what I'm
no,
hey, ladies, let me know, man. Any ladies watching Combat Weekly, you know,
French or Mexican, who knows?
I was gonna say French, Mexican. We all tied up, man. Je ne sais quoi. No, I'm just kidding. But Marty Supreme was actually a really good movie. I find it so funny because I had a lot of MMA fighters recommending me this movie, and I was like, okay, MMA fighters watching a movie about a guy that's into table tennis. Like this just isn't crossing over to me. And then I watched it, and honestly, if you're somebody that is like into self-belief, into like visualizing yourself into a situation, I really think Marty Supreme's a good movie. And I think that a lot of MMA fighters can relate to this because, you know, we always talk about the disillusion that you have to have as a fighter. Because you, like how you said, you have to go out there thinking either A, you're the best in the world, or B, you are way better than that guy across the cage from you. And if you go in thinking any other thought, it's probably not going to be a good night in the office for you. And that's not like how it is in any other field. For example, I'm going to go clock into my job out of school right now in a couple hours. If I'm not having the best day outside of it, it does not mean that I'm going to get knocked out by a kid at my work. Like, you know, it's not going to happen. Like, I mean, it could happen.
Has happened before at schools. Yeah, I don't know.
Has happened before, but hey, if a kid can't catch me, man, it's not going to be one of them. It's going to be multiple of them because there ain't no way some 8th graders going to knock me out, man. Ain't no way. They may be the same height as me, man, but they ain't going to knock me out. I know that. But no, Marty Supreme really was a good movie. So if you are an MMA fan, somebody that's into self-belief, self-realization, I definitely do recommend it. But yeah, it took a little bit of a break from the fights on Saturday. But Fusion Fight League, I believe my guy, my gosh, why am I believe one of my guys commentates over there. But also looking forward to as well Fierce Fighting Championship. My guy Blake O'Rolian commentates over there. They're making their returns. Shout out my guy Blake. He's going to be commentating a card, I believe, coming up here pretty soon. So shout out Blake, shout out Fusion over there. I mean, there's just so many different like leagues over there. They got Fusion, they got Fierce, they got a good little mecca over there. And I would like to say the northwest area.
Fierce, if I'm not mistaken, is actually Utah.
Would you? This is another question. Is that considered the West Coast?
Utah is more west than Montana is from a geographic standpoint, I believe.
Correct.
Or at least even. So I would say it is as much West Coast. Again, for me, if you're west of Denver, you draw a straight line down Denver. If you're west of Denver, that's West Coast to me. But
that's what I'm saying. Like, that's what I think too. I even consider Colorado kind of like West Coast. I don't really consider them like, I don't consider them the Midwest because I consider like the Midwest Kansas. Like that's like, you know.
What conference was University of Colorado Boulder in before they fucked everything up? The Pac-12. That's all I'm saying. The Pac-12 is like one of the easiest ways to be like, are you West Coast? Utah, Arizona, ASU, Denver.
Dylan Austin's dropping bombs today, man. Let them know. Let them know, Dylan. Let them know, man.
Anyways, we'll be back again soon. We have a guest coming up this week.
Yes.
At some point, stay tuned for that. Yeah. We'll be releasing a standalone interview.
Big flyweights guest.
That we love our 125ers. We love our 125ers around here. So, anyways, it's always good talking to you, MLH, and we will see y'all for the next one. Follow us, Combat Weekly, MMA everywhere. Do it.
MLH Media, DSK Combat Sports signing out.
Peace.